Hi class, it's Mr. Morris, and we're going to do a short set of notes on the metric system. Some of you have probably already been somewhat familiar with it. The goal of this video is to make sure you know how to convert between units in the metric system. Alright, the metric system is also called the International Standard, or SI. That's the abbreviation from the French of System International. There are two systems, the English metric system, and by the way, that SI system, I just want you to know SI and metric are the same thing. Okay, there's the English and the metric system, and if you look at the English system, it looks like there's really no rhyme or reason. You've got 12 inches in a foot, or you got 5,280 feet in a mile, 3 feet in a yard. I mean, it just, 16 ounces in a pound. There's so many different things, and it's hard to remember all of it. So one of the advantages of the metric system is it makes math a lot easier because it's based on tens. Everything is a multiple of 10. So how do we use the metric system? Well, we use it to make measurements, and it is a worldwide standard for measurements. So everybody in the world can communicate with this system of measurement as long as you label your units correctly. Okay. All measurements have two parts. We've got a number and then we have a unit. Make sure that you don't leave any numbers without units. If you don't label your units, we don't know what you're talking about. As a matter of fact, one of the most expensive mistakes that we ever made at NASA was a miscommunication that caused a spacecraft to crash into the surface of Mars, and the reason is because they didn't label their units. Because they didn't label their units, there was a miscommunication on whether they were communicating in kilometers or miles, and they didn't double check. So they did the calculations with the wrong units in mind, and we lost billions of dollars. So label your units, it's a big deal. All right, we've got a lot going on in this slide. It's a table, but I want to go ahead and go through this, okay? So first, your quantity name, that's the type of measurement, and then we've got base units. The base unit is the primary unit for that type of measurement. So mass is labeled as m if you see it in a formula like density. Density equals mass over volume. That's D equals m over V. We'll talk about that later, okay? But the units of mass are grams, represented by the letter G, and we use a scale or a balance to measure it. Length is represented by the lowercase letter L, but the units of length are meters, or m. You, of course, measure that with a ruler or something like that. Volume is capital V. The units are liters or cubic meters, L or m cubed. We use liters most of the time. Beaker or graduated cylinder could tell you the volume. Graduated cylinder would be more accurate. Time is represented by lowercase t, and temperature by uppercase T if we're talking about the quantity symbol. But the units are Kelvin or degrees Celsius. We'll learn a lot more about Kelvin later, but you're probably more familiar with degrees Celsius, and we use a thermometer to measure that. There are many other specialty units, and we'll talk about them later. I want you to look down here at the prefixes, okay? Mega is 10 to the 6th, or a million. Mega means a million. Kilo is 10 to the 3rd, that's 1,000. Hecto means, which is H, that means 100, 10 to the 2. Deca is 10 to the 1, or just 10. DA represents deca. And then we've got our base unit. That's where you see all of these: grams, meters, liters, meters cubed, seconds, and then Kelvin. We don't really use it as much with prefixes, but yes. Okay. And then, of course, deci, centi, milli, micro. Deci is 1/10, centi is 1/100th, milli is 1/1000th, micro is 1/1,000,000th. It's a millionth. And you can see there, you can see the exponential factor right here, 10 to the -1, 10 to the -2, and so on. All right, let's talk about how we can actually use this in a practical way in class. There's a sentence you can use to help you remember this. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. The first letters in the sentence stand for the prefixes with usually meaning units or the base unit. Meters, grams, liters, etc. Okay, so we have kilo, hecto, King Henry. Deca, doesn't. Usually is unit. Drink is deci. Chocolate is centi. Milk is milli. What you have to keep straight is deca and deci. So deca is on this side is the first one, and then deci is on the right side. Since each step is 10 times or 1/10 as much as the other step, we have 1 kilometer equal to 10 hectometers, so it's a factor of 10. It's different by a factor of 10. And then a decimeter, you'd have 10 times as many decimeters, 100. And then 1,000 meters, which is 10,000 decimeters, which is 100,000 centimeters, which is 1,000,000 millimeters. And I've got it written out in words down here, and so on. All right, so how do we use this practically? Well, 1 milliliter equals 0.1 centiliter. So if we're going the other way on that scale, 1 milliliter would be way over here on the right. 1 milliliter is 0.1 centiliters, and 0.01 deciliters, and 0.001 liters, and 0.0001 decaliters, and 0.00001 hectoliters, and 0.00001 kiloliters. So you can see we're just moving the decimal one place farther. So as you move from one prefix to the next, you just move the decimal place one place, either to the left or to the right, and you fill in with zeros if necessary. Let's do a couple examples. All right, first of all, if I wanted to convert from 12.54 kilometers to centimeters, remember our sentence, King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. All right, we start at kilometers. We're going to centimeters. Okay, meter would be the unit. Centi is over here on the right. So I'm going to go from kilo to centi. How many spaces do we move? We move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So I'm going to take my decimal and move it 5 spaces in the same direction I just went, to the right. 5 spaces to the right. And we just did that down here. 12.54, but we're going to move that decimal 5 spaces to the right, and it comes to the end. Fill in those 3 zeros that we need to fill in, and you get the number that we have written down here. 12.54 kilometers is 1,254,000 centimeters. We've got another example real quick. Convert 457 milliliters to hectoliters. Remember your sentence again. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. So milli is the last one. Hecto is way over here on the left. So I'm going to look at this number, and I'm going to move, since the decimal is not shown, we assume it's at the end, we're going to move it to the left this time, because I'm going from milli to hecto. I want to know hecto. So I'm going to move it to the left. How many spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. It's 5 jumps again. But this time we're going to the left. 457, go back 5 spaces. You have 2 zeros before the 4 and a decimal in front of it. So my answer, 457 milliliters equals 0.00457 hectoliters. And that's pretty much it for the metric system. So I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or to your teacher and get those questions answered. Have a good day.